Hi everyone, welcome here or welcome back. My name is Rebecca and today we are talking about 10 tips to have a minimal holiday season. So being a minimalist around the holiday, I think most people think about gifts, so gift giving and gift receiving and how to do that as a minimalist. And we'll talk a little bit about that today, but to me, being a minimalist during the holiday season is really just about the intentionality that you bring to all parts of the season, not just gift giving. So we'll get into a little bit of that as well. All right, let's dive right in. My first tip is to plan early and shop early. The more you put off shopping, the more likely it is that you'll impulse buy or panic buy and not be as intentional as you would maybe like to be with your gift giving. I mostly exchange gifts with my immediate family and I like to start planning when I see them on Thanksgiving. So we'll have lots of conversations about what's going on in their life, what they're into, what they're up to, and I'll start to sort of generate some ideas, usually when I see them on Thanksgiving, and then shop sort of immediately after. And this saves me from panic buying and just like overnighting anything from Amazon in order to feel like I have something to give, but really ordering something with intention and that I think that the receiver will really love. My second tip is to make a budget and stick with it. So as much as I'm a minimalist in things, in stuff, I would also consider myself a financial minimalist. And part of that is being really regimented around a budget. And the holidays are no exception to that. So I will usually look at my budget like a month or 6 weeks before and start to plan out how much money I think I'll have to spend on gifts. But then more importantly, I will track to that budget. So every time I purchase something, I just have a list going of how much I've spent on the holidays for my gifts. So I always know how much is left over and how much I have to spend. And that budget fluctuates every year. Some years I have more money to spend and some years are tighter years I have less money to spend, but I never want to go into debt buying holiday gifts. And that sort of brings me into my third tip, which is to communicate with friends and family about gift giving. If you feel uncomfortable that your budget's going to be smaller this year, let them know. And you don't have to tell them a dollar amount or how much you're budgeting this year or anything about your finances. Just tell them what you're planning. You can say, this year, I'm really planning to get you 1 or 2 small and meaningful things. Not only can this make it easier and more comfortable to stick to the budget that you've set for yourself, but it also will help the receiver. If they're planning on buying you a gift, it can help it feel a little bit more equal if they know what you're planning to spend or the size of the gift that you're planning to give. And the other side of the communication, it's not just about the monetary piece of it and how much you're going to spend or how big or small the gifts are going to be, but really conversing with the people that you're going to be giving gifts to and see if you can unearth like what's going on in their life. What are they into? What kind of gift would really bring them joy and be meaningful to them? Really open the lines of communication so that if you are going to give a gift, it's something that they really want and that they're going to value and find meaning in. So don't be afraid to talk about gifts, talk about the gift giving and gift receiving experience with the people you're exchanging with. My fourth tip is don't be afraid to let go of traditions, especially if those traditions mean that you're holding on to things or stuff that you don't find meaning or value or love in, or are going outside your budget to be able to do a certain tradition. Traditions are there for the nostalgia and for the joy and for the happiness that they bring. If they're bringing you anxiety instead of happiness and joy, you can let it go. You're allowed to, in your own life, define what your traditions are and what's important to you. You don't have to carry on your family's traditions just because that's what's always been done. Make your own holiday rules, make your own traditions, find your own path that feels right to you, especially when it comes to holding on to things or spending money or time. Tip number 5 is to decorate with intention. It doesn't need to look like Christmas threw up in your house for it to feel festive. Keep your space clutter-free and minimal by picking a few decor pieces that really represent your style, but also are things that you like and like to look at and want to have around. Christmas doesn't even need to exist in every single room in the house. In our house, for instance, we have a very small tree. I have a couple homemade decorations, and it's all sort of contained to one room. And that's sort of where the festiveness and the warmth and the joy happens, specifically around the holidays, is really just in our living room. And the second part of that is to remember that decor doesn't have to mean things you put up in your home, right? It could be the smell of cooking a traditional family meal. It could be the music that you play. It could be certain scents in the home. It doesn't have to be like a physical thing that you put in your space. Tip number 6 is to minimize your commitments. This is the time of year where I feel like we all get a little overextended. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of social events. There's a lot to keep up on. So just in the way where I was talking about letting go of traditions, you can also let go of social engagements that you don't want to do. Give yourself permission to be intentional about the invitations that you do accept so that you feel like the holidays are joyful and that they are restful and that you're giving yourself space during this time of year. And I know in some cases that's really easier said than done, right? There's family commitments that feel more like obligations, and every family is a little bit different, but sort of going back to that communication piece of the holidays, if you can open up those lines of communication to really say like, hey, I'm overextended. I know we usually do Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, but I can only do 2 this year. All right, for the last 4 tips, I do want to talk a little bit more about gift giving because that is such a big part of the holidays and can be a little bit stressful as a minimalist sometimes. So tip number 7 is to shop with intention. What does that even mean? I think about intentional shopping as the thing that I'm going to gift either needs to be useful or meaningful. So useful meaning it's something that the gift receiver has said, oh, I really wish I had this, or I've always wanted to buy myself that, or you've identified something in their life where you're like, oh, if they had that, their life would be easier. Or it's meaningful. It's something where they're going to open it up and they're going to feel a little tug on their heartstrings, or they're going to feel seen, or they're going to feel joyful. These are things like experiences or photographs or, things that will be treasured through their life. So if I'm going to buy or make something to gift to somebody, I always want it to fall within one of those 2 categories. And again, you can find your sort of own categories of measure, but that's what I use to make sure that I'm gifting with intention. Tip number 8, don't be a closet minimalist. So what I mean by that is don't be afraid to tell people that you're on a minimalist journey. Don't be afraid to say like, hey, I'm really trying to reduce the stuff in my life. And as with anything, when you're growing and shifting and changing, like that can be disruptive to the people around you. It can make them feel like, oh, you don't want my presents? Like you don't want what I give you? You don't like what I give you? So what's helpful when you're talking about like what you want to get for a gift as a minimalist is to give examples. This can be a little bit of like a sensitive topic, right? I find that some gift givers feel offended or think it's about them or their gift giving ability, but just be honest. Just be like, I'm trying to have less stuff in my life. You always give amazing gifts and I so appreciate it, but this year I'd really love to receive some time with you, or maybe we could go see this game together, or I love those cookies that you make. Do you think that you could make those for me? It's not uncommon for family and loved ones to ask for a wish list, and don't be afraid to say, my wish list doesn't have anything on it, but I would love to spend the afternoon with you. And this could take time, right? I've been a minimalist for a long time, and my family just in the past few years are very good now at being like, I know you're a minimalist. What can we do for you? And I'm so grateful to have such an understanding family. And when I say nothing, or can we have some cookies, or something like that, they totally get it. So give it time and speak honestly. Tip number 9 is to give less gifts, but make them more special. And in some respects, I am talking about the actual gift, right? Shopping with intention, buying things that are useful or meaningful. But I also like to make the actual unwrapping of the gift like a really beautiful event. I like to use sort of like recycled old paper bags and things like that to wrap with, but then I'll add like pieces of greenery or like a little homemade ornament to it. So the gift could be small or inexpensive, but you can still make it feel like it's infused with love by the way that you wrap it and present it and just make it a whole sort of beautiful package. Number 10, and the last tip on the list, is don't stress too much about it. You are bound, no matter what, to get gifts that you feel like perhaps you wish you didn't have, or maybe feels like they're adding to the clutter or giving you anxiety to have. That's okay. Just say thank you, receive the gift. It's not the end of the world. You might find a use for it in the future, or you might be able to re-gift it to somebody else, or you might sit with it a while and be like, you know what? I actually like this and I want to keep it around. So while it's great to communicate and have all these conversations, do what makes you feel comfortable and don't worry too much about it. All right, that's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for being here. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone. Here or welcome back. My name, oh, Chips. Trouble. Let's start again. Wake up. Oh no, the sun is setting. Better hurry up. Do it again. Again. Happy holidays.